It's an interesting thing because it's this technology that is kind of being thrust upon us as well as people adopting it. Like it drives me insane. On LinkedIn, they're like, rewrite with AI. And every applicant tracking system out there is like, now we're, AI powered. I'm like, we didn't ask for this. I don't know that we want it. I mean, heaven knows I don't want LinkedIn to be powered by AI. I don't. I don't want to know what ChatGPT thinks about something. I would like to know what Teri Zipper thinks about something. It's like I don't want that there. And I don't think that I'm alone on that.
Welcome to the HR Huddle podcast, presented by Sapient Insights Group, the ultimate resource for all things HR. It's time to get in the huddle.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the HR Huddle. I'm your host, Teri Zipper, CEO and Managing Partner at Sapient Insights Group, and I'm back for another exciting episode of HR We Have a Problem. This is the show where we like to break down the big and most relevant HR issues of the day. We help you make sense of what they mean for you, and we also talk about what you might do about them. Our guest today is someone many of you know as the evil HR lady. Her Facebook page, it has, 30,000 or so members. The face behind that name is Suzanne Lucas, and I'm excited to have her on the show today. Welcome, Suzanne.
Thank you so much, Teri. I'm super happy to be here.
I know you had a lot of corporate HR experience and then decided to come at HR problems from a different perspective and started doing things like coaching and training HR departments. So that's some of the things I want to talk about today. The title of the show, as you know, is HR We Have a Problem. I feel like if there's anyone that can speak about that, it's you. So I thought we'd cover the gamut today. Like who is this evil HR lady? How did she come to be that? And maybe more specifically, what's the state of HR today and where might we be going? Does that sound like a good plan?
That sounds very broad. So let's do it.
Let's get into the huddle. So I guess one of my first questions for you, I've heard you talk a lot about how you kind of got started, but I'm really interested in what was the impetus or what was the thing that made you want to get out of corporate HR and get into the consulting world? Because, I think some could argue that that's a lot harder, like coaching and training HR departments is a lot harder. What was it that sort of drove you there?
Well, the answer won't be terribly exciting. I didn't. I fell into this world. I was working in corporate HR when my husband got a job offer in Switzerland. And so who's going to turn that down, right?
Right.
So we came here for 2 to 3 years, 15 years ago. And when we came, I quit my corporate job, and because we were going to only stay here for 2 to 3 years, we decided that I would stay home with the kids. It was a new country, new language, new culture, blah, blah, blah. The kids were little. Daycare is crazy expensive. So, for 2 to 3 years, I was going to be the stay-at-home mom. And then, like I said, that was 15 years ago. And so I left the corporate world for a Swiss adventure. And then while I was here, I was writing a blog. I've been writing a blog for 3 years. And then CBS News reached out to me and said, "Hey, would you like to write for us? We'll pay you." And I was like, "What? Someone will pay me for that?" And so I started writing for them, and I never looked back.
That's awesome. It's funny. That's usually how a lot of people end up in things. They're not necessarily, trained in it. They just decide to do it, or, the skills look like they match your skills, right? So you say, "Hey, I'm gonna give this a whirl." I know I personally didn't end up in HR in the space that I'm in now on purpose either. I kind of just sort of fell into it because I had some technology experience and this HR department that was trying to launch or, implement a new payroll system was like, oh, you know something about technology. Come help us.
Come help us.
So yeah. It's interesting how that works.
It's so much. I tell people, that your effort and all of that absolutely affects your career, but don't dismiss random life events. There's a lot of luck involved in career, and there's a lot of talking with everybody and these chances for different things pop up in weird ways. So you have to be ready to seize opportunity when it appears.
Yeah, that's very good advice. So when you were in HR in your formative career, what did you see as some of the challenges then? Are they still the same challenges today, or are you seeing a lot of new challenges?
I mean, I've been in HR for 25 years now. Oh boy. It's
It's
been a
scary when
while.
you start measuring it in number of years,
Yeah, because
right?
I was like, since 1999 and it's 2024, that's 25 years. Yeah, I've been in HR for 25 years. And so there's been, a lot of different things have happened. My very first salary exempt role in HR was as an HR analyst. And I was the very first HR analyst for a company called Wegmans. Your East Coast viewers will know it's the best grocery store on the planet.
Yep.
They are the best ever. Anyway, I still love them. But I was their very, very first HR analyst. Like HRISs were new. That was a new thing. My very, very first HR job was as a temp. I was a temp administrative assistant in an HR department where they were implementing their very first HRIS, and they were keeping all of their employee information on cards that they stored in shoeboxes. I mean, this whole thing is within the last 25 years. So, when you start out of that and then come today where of course you have an HRIS, and we're talking about different sims technology, and it's remote work, it's artificial intelligence. There's all these very, very different things, and there's a lot of different attitudes of people as well. Like the current push towards this work-life balance, which is more life than work, is very, very different. And these concepts of the things that people want and expect in a job now are completely different from what they wanted and expected in a job 20, 25 years ago.
Yeah, that very much has changed. And it's changing the whole way we work.
Yeah,
The where we
absolutely.
work, when we work, how we work. It's fascinating, really. And I want to talk about AI a little bit, but I think that's an area HR is struggling with.
It's an interesting thing because it's this technology that is kind of being thrust upon us as well as people adopting it. Like it drives me insane. On LinkedIn, they're like, rewrite with AI. And every applicant tracking system out there is like, now we're, AI powered. I'm like, we didn't ask for this. I don't know that we want it. I mean, heaven knows I don't want LinkedIn to be powered by AI. I don't. I don't want to know what ChatGPT thinks about something. I would like to know what Teri Zipper thinks about something. It's like I don't want that there. And I don't think that I'm alone on that. And it, gives these suggested responses, and it's super annoying, but it's being forced on us, and it's dumbing us down. So it's like, oh, I can just click this button and it'll give me this response. And that's not helpful. On the other hand, AI is helpful for a lot of things. I mean, one of the things that it's most helpful for is, our autocorrect on our phone is simply an AI algorithm. It learns from what you've said before and predicts what you would say in the future. And then it also figures out what you meant to say. And while we mock it, it's actually really good. When it makes mistakes and they're funny, but most of the time it's actually correct. And if you turn the autocorrect off on your phone and you realize that you really have fat fingers and you're not hitting those keys exactly like you mean to because the autocorrect is fixing it. So there are things that we really, really do like. It's scary to me, the concept of these algorithms helping in applicant tracking systems, because AI is full of bias, and you're full of bias. I'm full of bias. Everyone's full of bias. We're all full of bias. It's not like I'm like, oh, I'm perfect and you're perfect and AI is biased. We're all biased. But the problem with AI is that it brings that bias, it magnifies it, and then it makes everybody that uses it biased in the same way. Whereas now you have your biases, I have my biases. We're both hiring someone. You're going to be biased this way, I'm going to be biased that way. Everybody gets a job. If AI is choosing, it's going to star the same person for both of us.
Yeah, not a good thing. I
No,
think
it's
this
not.
is some of the reasons that, HR is spreading over it. And I think, there's a role for them to play right now. I think there's a lot of things that it could do on the compliance side to sort of take away all that sort of basic HR related compliance work, like, serve up information, which we've already been doing anyway to a large extent. But when it comes to people and the interactions, I feel like we're gonna forget how to talk to people at some point if we can't even write a performance evaluation with our own words.
And yeah, this is a huge concern of mine because AI is really good at the basic stuff, but it's not good at advanced stuff. But the problem is when you use it for the basic, you never advance yourself. Because the only way to become a really good writer is to write a lot of crappy stuff at first, right? And
Exactly.
if you're using AI to do your essays, do all your emails, do all this, that's great and it's efficient, but you are not developing the way that you need to. You're stuck and you're going to get worse. And one of the things that I know for sure, living here in Switzerland, the software for translating has gotten so much better in the 15 years that I've been here. And I've become lazy with my German because I can just use DeepL to translate it. And so I've had people compliment me on my grammar when it's written, and I'm like, no, no, I didn't. That's not me. I wrote it in English and translated German.
Yeah.
It's my German has gotten worse as the technology has gotten better. And that's going to happen to humans in all areas if we're letting AI do this stuff.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of the days of the calculator. Remember when it's like, oh no, you can't have a calculator to do your work and your homework and in school and all these kinds of things because you'll never know how to do math. And it's not like you can just pull this out anytime you need it and say, well, let me see what GPT says I should say about this, right?
Yes,
I mean,
every time you say something, I'm like, type, type, type into my phone. Oh, okay. And this says, yeah, it's like,
yeah, hold on a minute. Yeah, it starts to become really impersonal. We'll see how it evolves, right? And we'll adapt to it. But it is an interesting dynamic, especially for HR. And I think a lot of people look to HR oftentimes with anything new, like, well, are you gonna go first?
well, and we become these like de facto company regulators of things, and we're put in charge of the new. When if you want to go back to 2020, which heaven forbid, none of us want to go back to 2020, but
No.
I don't know about you, but prior to 2020, I had never, ever, ever once thought about taking an employee's temperature when they came into work. I had never, never, never once thought about a vaccine policy for employees. I thought about it at school because you have to have your shot records for schools and all that. But
Right.
I I had never ever thought about asking employees for their vaccination record. Like it had never come into my head. And then suddenly it was on HR's shoulders. And suddenly I am training thousands of people on how to follow CDC guidelines. Where did that come from? Why was that on my head? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm perfectly happy to take something on. I like to do new things, but it was like, what in the heck? And then the same
Yeah.
thing is with HR. Who's making the not with HR, with AI, who's making these policy decisions? Well, HR is. Who's deciding how we use this and all of those things? It's coming back on our heads, which is great, but are we equipped?
Yeah. That's the big question. I think we're not. And it's not an HR issue. To me, it's at the executive level. HR is maybe one of the ones that has to carry out some of the things related to it, but it's definitely an executive level decision and conversation, right?
It absolutely is, and it needs to be partnered with HR. But as companies put it off and they don't have this discussion, it lands on our desks. Because what do we
Yeah,
do about Bob?
right.
He's been
Suddenly
having
there's yeah,
all the stuff. What do we do about it? Is this a violation of policy? Is this we don't have a policy? What do you mean? You know?
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It comes back to policy. We do have some fanboys and girls here at Sapient, by the way. Stacey Harris is a big
Oh,
fangirl of yours, was very excited to know that I was going to be talking to you and doing a podcast with you. One of the things I love about what you do is how you use comedy. I've often thought that HR, the business of HR, can be too serious, right? I mean, of course, there are a lot of serious issues that we have to deal with in HR, but I think most people know when it's not okay to laugh, but I'm not sure they know in HR when it's okay to laugh, right? So I'm very curious about how you came up with this improv on HR idea and just sort of the, perception of HR in general, because we can be we can take ourselves pretty seriously.
absolutely. And we do take ourselves way too seriously sometimes. But how it came about is I took an improv comedy class just for fun, just for fun. And the more I learned about improv, the more I was like, oh my gosh, there are so many applications real life in an HR. And the more I studied improv and the more I practiced and trained, the more I just saw overlap after overlap after overlap. And the biggest thing is this concept of yes and, which is the foundation of improv, which is you accept what's ever thrown at you and you build on it. You don't say no in improv. Like if I said, "Oh, Teri, what a beautiful hat you have on." You don't say, "I'm not wearing a hat." You say, "Oh, yes, thank you. My grandmother gave it to me." Just you just build on it, right?
Yeah.
And that sums up the role of HR so perfectly because so often we aren't the decision maker, but we have to just build on it. So the CEO says, everybody back to the office. And you can have your discussions behind the scenes and you can say your piece. But once that decision is made, you've got to just accept it or you've got to get out. It's super destructive if you're like, yeah, everybody, the CEO says everyone back to the office, but I think that's a stupid thing. And he's going to probably change his mind in 6 months. And that is completely destructive for the company. Completely. You have to end it. CEO says, everybody back, let's come back, let's find the best solution, let's do this, let's do that, let's, work on these things. How can we make it better for everybody? You've got to do the and part. If you are like, oh, it falls apart. It's super destructive to the company.
Yeah. Well, and that's what they did when they came back, right? They said yes. And oh, we're going to come back 3 days a week and 2 days we're going to, work at home and, or we're going to give people the option or, they came up with all sorts of sort of creative and innovative ways to solve that problem. But it's a great way of looking at things. I think, people don't want to say no most of the time in HR, but they also sort of can accept things in the box and not, and the and helps you get outside of the box.
The and helps you get outside of the box, and it gives you power over it. And it also improves things. It's like one of the things that one of my improv team members always says is, today is the day. And she always says that before we go on stage, which is this idea of whatever happens out there, today is the day. It is this is the day where it happens. So whatever the scene is, this is it. This is the day where it happens. And it's this empowering thing. And if you think about that, and that makes me sound like very much a rah, motivational speaker, which I'm not. But today is the day. What you do today, you can make it better, or you can make it worse. If you yes and things, it will be better. If you no but things, then you don't move forward. And this is something I see in so many areas of my life, not just within HR. The husband that I came here with is now an ex-husband. And so one of the groups that I'm in, and one of the things that I'm passionate about, is I am in a group of stuck mothers. We are women that moved abroad, who are now divorced and cannot move back to our home countries because of custody issues. So I'm very happy here in Switzerland. I like it a lot, but I can't take my children back to the United States until my youngest is 18, which is in 2 more years. But I see so many women in this group who, instead of just saying, yes, I am stuck here, and now this is what I'm going to do, they just say, I'm stuck here and my life is ruined and I can't do anything. I don't have any friends. I'm like, you can make a friend anywhere, but they're so in this, my life would be good if I was back home. Okay, but you're not. You're here.
Yeah.
And your options are to stay here with your kids or to go home by yourself, because you can't take the kids back. And so what are you going to do? How are you going to end that? Okay, I am stuck here in a place I don't want to be. And now what? And we can do that in our careers too. So many people, I have a terrible boss. Okay. So I have a terrible boss and what? Oh, but I can't find a new job. I didn't ask you. I said, and what? What are you going to do now? Are you going to be angry and complain and focus on those bad things? Or are you going to treat your job like, okay, I've got to compartmentalize. I'm going to do this and then I'm going to be done and I'm going to turn off my phone and I'm going to work on it. Or are you looking for a new job? So many people that are like, I have the worst job ever. Well, when was the last time you applied for a new job? 3 years ago. Okay. Okay.
It's so bad.
The job market is terrible, so I haven't tried. The job market is terrible. It's sucky. Man, I know, because I run, in addition to Evil HR Lady, we have Evil HR Jobs, where people that are posting are looking for jobs, can post. And there's so many people that are looking for jobs, man. It sucks. It really does. But it's not going to get better if you don't try. Have you had a professional look at your resume? No. Okay, maybe try that. If you're not getting interviews, do something and it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I kind of got goosebumps when you were talking about it, because I was like, that just every day we have things that get in our way, and you can either stop and just let the roadblock stay there, or you can push through it. And it might not be what you dreamed it would be, but it's better than staying behind the roadblock, right?
It's better than staying behind the roadblock, and it's better than giving up and being like, this is what my life is now. This is what my life is now, and now what?
Yeah.
It's the and now, okay, let's add to it. Let's move forward. Let's do something. If I don't like where I am, then I can make changes. I can make changes in me. I can make changes in what I do. It's that stuck when you feel stuck that is sucking the lifeblood out of you. It's okay, this is my crappy situation. This is my bad job. This is the dumb policy the CEO came up with. This is the, Supreme Court decision that I hate. Okay, that's reality. And now what?
Yeah. It gives you a lot to think about. If
Yeah.
you put that in front of every conversation, gives you a
It
lot to
really
think
does. It's
about.
a powerful tool. And I honestly recommend for everyone for their own personal growth and development, take an improv class. I know it sounds ridiculous, but there's so many of those skills that make a difference in your life. First, the philosophy of yes and, but it's also learning how to think on your feet, which is the exact opposite of what AI is doing to us. Like it's something that makes your brain go, it's brain stretching. A few weeks ago, I took a 7-hour improv class on a Saturday. I came home, I fell asleep at 8 o'clock that night. That's not me. I'm a night owl. I usually go to bed at midnight. I was so exhausted from the brain work, that 7 hours of stretching my brain. Well, six, because we took an hour for lunch. But it's a lot, but it's really good. And people are like, oh, but I'm not funny. Yes, you are. Everybody's funny. Everyone is funny. I teach beginning improv. I've never once had a student that wasn't funny
I
because
was
I
thinking about that coming into this conversation. I'm like, I'm not very funny. Like, I can be funny at certain points, but it's like some people are just really good at the moment, right? And always know that funny thing to say. Like I used to work with a guy at Mercer who recently just learned he passed away, and
sorry.
all I could think about was all the fun times with him where he never took himself or the work too seriously. Like no matter what we were at, he was always laughing, cutting jokes, taking funny pictures. Like he'd bring those nose and those glasses with the mustache and make everybody put them on so he could take a picture. And I don't know, he was just Cookie Monster. He brought Cookie Monsters and would run around and have everybody hold it and get your picture with Cookie Monster. I mean, that's just the kind of person he was. He always, he just didn't take things so seriously. And I mean, again, HR is a serious business sometimes, but it doesn't always have to be.
It doesn't always have to be. And even when it is, the way we approach it, if we approach it like the world is coming to an end, that's a very different approach than, hey, here's a problem. How can I solve it? Let's fix this. And I was talking with one of my moderators on my Evil HR group, which she's brand new, and we're not announcing the new moderators until next week. So I can't say her name. But she was saying that that's her attitude when employees come to her. She's like, do you want to just whine to me, or do you want me to help you fix it? Can we fix it? And they're like, oh, I thought you'd be mad at me. And she's like, well, it was a dumb choice, but let's fix it. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even though I hate this idea on an intellectual level, because so many people think of HR as like the school principal or the mom of the, and I admit that I am far too motherly, and I'm a cookie baker, and I'm always like, here, have a cookie. But your mom is always going to be looking to help you, even when you make dumb choices. Now, we're not motherly in that we will fire your butt. I have no problem. And you won't fire your child.
Exactly.
You will occasionally ground them or take away their phone or whatever you do with children these days. I don't know. Might have well, I have an adult child and a teenager, so that's a very old teenager. So it's like, whatever, you guys live your thing. But they're always looking for what's best, and what you think is insurmountable as a child, your mother can fix most of the time, or your father can fix. And as an employee, things that you think are insurmountable, a lot of times there's a solution and you just don't know it. HR knows it. Oh, well, did you know that you can go to your doctor and get this form filled out, and then we'll go through this interactive process and we'll get you the supports you need to do your job? Oh, I didn't know that was possible. I thought the Americans with Disabilities Act was for people who are blind or in wheelchairs. No, it's for everybody that has any sort of disability. Oh, oh, well, you can take FMLA to help you deal with your wife's cancer. Oh, I can? Yes, you can take this time off to take her to doctor's appointments. Oh, I can? Like, people don't know what we know. Oh, here's a phone number for the employee assistance program. They can help you find a mortgage, get a lawyer, get
Mhm.
therapy, just all of these things that are available to employees that they don't know about. They think their role is coming to an end, and we're like, here's a 1-800 number, they can fix it. Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
know. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
and the
can.
choices are not always binary, right? That
Right.
they come and say, "Well, I can either do A or B, and I don't like either choice." Well, maybe there's a C,
Yeah,
right?
maybe there's a C, maybe there's a D. There's a Q. For a lot of people, there's a Q. Like,
Yep.
let's keep going. I hate my boss. Okay. What don't you like about your boss? Well, maybe it's possible to transfer. Oh, really? Yeah. Or, well, maybe the reason why you hate your boss is because your boss is always on your case because you're doing crappy work. So let's increase your level. Do you need training in something? Do you need support? Do you need an accommodation under ADA? Do you need a flexible schedule? There's so many things that we can do for people that people are not aware of. Let us help you. And
Yeah.
and that is a very powerful thing that HR can do. Does every HR person do? No. Is every HR person good? No. Some are terrible. Some are absolutely terrible. And I'm sure in your career you've encountered them.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And I'm sorry if you have terrible HR. I really am. But not every HR person is terrible, and a lot are very good.
Yeah, they are. That's a question I had for you. What do you think the perception of HR is? I know, in our study and the research that we do a number of years ago, we looked at the strategic focus of how HR was viewed, or whether they were even viewed as strategic. And when compared to other groups like finance and supply chain, HR was pretty low, less than 50%. It was about 45%. And they were just hovering there for several years. We started a challenge that said, hey, we're going to get to 55 by 25. We want to move the needle. We want to be viewed as strategic. So what is it that we're not doing? What are the things that we need to be practicing in order to, be at the table, right? And be making the decisions, not just focused on compliance, but be focused on business outcomes. And so, yeah, I'm curious what your thoughts are in terms of, how people perceive HR.
HR, I mean, as long as I've been in HR, there's always been negative attitudes towards HR. And part of that is the nature of the game, right? When you're in trouble, if your boss calls you in and says, hey, Teri, come in for a meeting. You walk in and sitting there is the HR manager, you're in trouble
Yeah.
because they don't bring the HR manager in to be like, you are so great. We're gonna, give you this new project. No, no. So a lot of
Yeah.
employees, their only interaction with HR is when they're hired. And, there's a lot of recruiters that say, we're not HR. We are not HR. We are separate. And there's a lot of HR people that are like, no, recruiters is different. I think it's critical that we realize we are all the people team, that what a recruiter does affects what I do and what you do 20 years down the road. We are all part of the team. But so people know HR, and when they think of HR, they think of recruiters. And everybody's had a bad experience with a recruiter. Everybody. I have, you have, everybody has. Never met anybody who hasn't. Never met anybody that hasn't been ghosted. Never met
Yeah.
anybody that hasn't had multiple job interviews and then nothing. Like it's not even that I didn't get the job, it's that nothing. I didn't hear back. I see all the time people that will submit their application at 2 o'clock in the morning and within 5 minutes they get a rejection notice. That's not a human doing that. It is
Right.
some AI and or not AI even. It can be like there's a checkbox thing that you have to have, you know, you have to be fluent in Japanese and you're not, so you're thrown out, right?
Yeah.
You have to have a degree in finance. You don't, you're thrown out. But they see it as this real impersonalization. And then we're also the people that are the face behind. We had a really great year this year, and everyone's going to get a 2% raise.
Right.
It was not our decision. I've never been the budget person. I ran the annual budget increase for several years for a Fortune 50 company, and it was never my decision. Finance gave me the percent.
Yeah.
They
That was
gave
a
me the
very
number.
thankless job. I helped organizations do that as well. And that was a very thankless job, was running that process.
Yeah, it's fun in that I love a project because there's a beginning, a middle, and an end, and like you're done, and you're like, and then the next year starts up again. But yeah, it's a thankless job, and people blame HR. Oh, well, HR didn't do this, and managers blame HR. Oh, I'd love to give you a promotion, but HR won't let me.
Yeah. Instead of saying,
Really?
you know what, we didn't have the numbers this year. The
Yeah.
business didn't,
The business
wasn't as profitable as we expected to be, or we didn't make enough of these widgets, you know.
exactly. Or you're a poor performer. That's why you're not getting the promotion.
Yeah.
I'd love to promote you, but HR won't let me. I mean, and every HR person has had a manager appear in their office saying, I want to fire this person. And you say, why? And they start spouting off to you about how horrible they are. And they're like, where's your documentation? Oh, don't have anything. You pull out their last employee annual review and they're rated, exceeds expectations. You're like,
Exactly.
so part of it, that was a long way to say, part of it is just the nature of the job that people have this negative attitude. The other part of it is, as I said, some HR people are absolutely terrible, terrible, horrible people who have no business in being in HR. And the thing is if you are a terrible, horrible person in finance or marketing or operations, everyone just kind of accepts that. Oh, you're horrible. But we're supposed to be the people person. So if we're not good, it makes the whole profession look bad. No one says, oh my gosh, my marketing manager was such a narcissistic jerk. I hate marketing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But the HR manager was such a narcissistic jerk. All HR sucks, right? That's the thing. And we bring that on ourselves. We don't police ourselves. We put up with things and then we devalue ourselves, and that makes companies devalue us. Another one of my moderators, this one I can say her name because she's been moderator for I don't know how many years, 1 zillion. She's amazing. Marie Lobazu. She's had a post go viral on LinkedIn, like 2.5 million views, and where she posted some salary combined with job descriptions of HR job postings. $50,000 for a senior level HR that is fluent in Spanish and English. That is somebody in finance is completely devaluing what they do. And the problem with that is that they're going to be able to find someone that's willing to do it for $50,000, but that person's going to be terrible. That person is going to be terrible, guaranteed. And then that justifies in their head, see, HR sucks. Why would I pay anymore? And you have SHRM, the biggest HR organization probably in the world, who doesn't pay their speakers. They pay their celebrity speakers, but they don't pay their other speakers. They'll pay transportation for some, not all, give you a free ticket, and people are willing to do it. But if the biggest HR organization in the world doesn't value HR expertise enough to throw them $500 to come speak, why should a CEO value HR ideas. SHRM doesn't value them. And now I'm never going to be allowed to speak at SHRM, which is fun. They won't pay me. It's like, oh, when our biggest organization says, no, you guys aren't worth anything, we'll pay $400,000 to Jason Sudeikis, who will stand us up and go to a
Yes.
basketball game. But we won't pay an expert to come in and make you a better HR person.
Yeah.
What
It's a good
is
point.
that?
Really good point.
Yeah, when our big body doesn't value us, forget it. Why should a CEO value us when what's his bucket? Johnny, I can't remember his last name. That's terrible. The head of SHRM doesn't value us. He doesn't value us. If he valued us, he'd pay the speakers.
Yeah. I know sometimes I forget that it's always somebody's first day in HR.
Right.
Maybe they studied it. Maybe they were like us. They just got lucky. They fell into it. They had the requisite skills. I don't know. But what advice would you give someone on their first day in HR?
Goodness gracious. My first advice would be you can't do anything that we can't fix. We can fix it, right? So don't panic. We can fix it. Just about anything can be fixed. And I'm not going to bring up things that can't be fixed, but don't fire anybody and don't hire anybody without sign-offs. Everything else we can pretty much fix. So make it okay to make a mistake, and then to learn as much as possible. And I've just bad-mouthed SHRM, which I will continue to do on that, because that is my hobby horse, is this: if you value HR, you will pay them, and you don't. So anyway, but
it's okay. You'll make them better. Criticism makes you better, right? So
yeah,
that's
something
the
like
theory.
that. But get your certifications, whether through SHRM or HRCI or AIHR is really coming up in prestige now. I've worked a lot with AIHR, just so they are good people. Like, I know the people behind it, and they're good people. It's good material. I wrote some of it, so I know. But get certifications, learn things, ask to go to conferences. Don't worry about the keynotes. Go to the breakout sessions and learn those things. Anybody that's like, oh, here's my big presentation on the future of work, forget it. Don't bother to go in there. It's not going to help you. It's not going to help you. One of the things a few months ago, Victoria Purser and I launched HR Learns, and we're an HR training company. And our big thing is, we don't want you to walk away feeling better about yourself. We want you to walk away knowing how to be better, how to make changes. We're not a rah, look at HR of the future. We are real HR. How can I help you today to make a difference? And learn those things. Join the Evil HR Lady Facebook group. And that's not just self-promotion. It's a really great group.
It's
a
great.
really great group.
It really is.
You will learn so much there from the people in there. And you can get your questions answered, and it's okay to have a stupid question. And also stay away from ChatGPT. When you are new, that is not the place to find your answers, because you can't trust it. I can go in and say, hey, what are the requirements for FMLA? And it'll give me a nice list. But I'm already an expert on FMLA. So if it makes a mistake, I know all I'm doing that for is just so that I don't have to retype it myself, right? So that I can just copy and paste it somewhere. But if you're brand new and it makes a mistake, how do you know? How do you know? You don't know.
Yeah.
So make sure you're learning things yourself. And yeah, I think those would be that's a lot of overwhelming actually, my first day advice is welcome. At some point you're going to cry, and it's okay. We've all cried.
Yeah. I think that the two things
Day two is all that other stuff.
Yeah. I took away a couple of things from that. One is, be a learner, look for opportunities and learn everything that you can about this. And if you're going to trust AI, you have to trust but verify.
Yeah, you have to trust but verify. And even the problem with verification is if you don't know enough, you can't verify it, right?
Yeah.
One of the examples I use in my webinar is I will ask AI, I'll ask ChatGPT, what is the law regarding nursing mothers in the workforce? And it gives a beautiful answer without mentioning the Pump Act or the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act. Why? Because the data in ChatGPT is old and those are
Yeah.
new laws. And so you're like, oh, it says the Fair Labor Standards Act. Gosh, I don't remember the name of the act that was the thing before. Anyway, it's part of the FLSA. And if you Google that to verify, it'll tell you that it's correct, but it doesn't tell you that there's new things on top of it. You've got to
Yeah.
be aware. You have to know what's going on.
Yeah. That gives you a little bit of nervousness about the future.
It's a huge problem. It's a huge problem. And we're going to see the whole AI thing making employees worse with students not doing their own work and using AI to learn to write. Writing is thinking, and you're not doing the thought
Yeah.
processes when you're not writing. And that's why universities have historically placed so much effort on writing. It's not that we want to make you into a novelist, so we want to teach you to think. And when you're copying and pasting out of AI, you're not thinking, you're not learning, you're not stretching your brain.
Yeah.
And we're going to get more and more of these people in whose skill is not in thinking, but maybe perhaps in beating the AI detectors that the professors are using.
Yeah.
Not really a skill that we need.
Well, I'm going to go take an improv class because that sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh my gosh, it's so much fun. It's so much fun.
Love it. Well, Suzanne, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been a great conversation. I look forward to doing it again. We need to do another one. I know we could find plenty to talk about.
Absolutely. It was delightful.
Thanks to our producers, Brand Method Media Group, and our marketing team who will take care of getting this out there to the audience. And thank you for tuning in. That's all the time we have for this episode of HR We Have a Problem. If you enjoyed this episode, you can subscribe to it on your favorite podcast app and leave us a review or drop us a line and let us know what topics you want to hear about. We'd love to get some things scheduled that you want to know about from an HR perspective. We will be back in 2 weeks with another episode of HR We Have a Problem. Thanks, everybody.